You get dressed, sit on that stupid piece of paper on the exam table in that flimsy paper gown, and you feel small, insignificant, like you have to ask permission to get your own health back. Permission. Permission to make changes to your diet. You know you're going to feel, well, you're going to be judged, right? And then your idea is going to be dismissed. You'll be told that keto is crazy and it isn't healthy to cut out carbs. So imagine if you were telling them you wanted to do carnivore. You feel defeated before you even open your mouth. So the question you're going to ask yourself is, who am I to question this professional in front of me? I want you to understand that that's actually the conflict. It's about changing the balance in the relationship between the person that you're consulting about your health. And I want us to move from a passive patient to being an empowered partner. So we have to think about why this happens. Why do we feel so disempowered, so less than in this situation? And we sometimes will blame the doctor. We think the doctor is somehow making us feel like this, but that's not reality, right? We walk in there ready for a fight, not realizing that the doctor isn't the villain. The doctor is a good person. They got into the profession because they want to help people. They 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 genuinely want everyone's life to improve. The doctor is just like you and me. They're trapped in a broken system. The real villain, right, is this protocol that we are all forced into. We can wait up to an hour for a 10-minute appointment. And trust me, I've waited longer than the hour. And then there's this checklist on a computer that the doctor is going through. And I watch this happening in front of me and it doesn't make any sense, right? The standard of care that forces the doctor to see us as a list of symptoms, not a person, right? They're not talking specifically to Violet. Now, maybe if you've known your doctor for years, that might happen, that they're talking specifically to you, but often that is not the case. Often what we're having is this, you're a number, oh, what's the problem? And that protocol actually depends on you and I being a passive patient. So what we need to do to change all of this is change the goal when we walk through the door. Because the goal is not to convert your doctor, right? And again, we walk in with this fight, and we think we're supposed to change their mind about our diet. But that's not your job, right? To make them believe in keto. The goal is to get your doctor to collaborate with you. The goal is to break the protocol by requesting one simple thing, that they partner with you to monitor your health. All right. So since we're the ones that want the change, right? We need to show up to our appointment with some sort of plan. You need an agenda that proves you're a partner, right? You're not a patient, you're a partner. So I want to show you what that kind of agenda could look like. So you walk into this appointment with confidence. This is the plan that I use, first of all, and I hope it's going to help you. And it has three simple but very professional statements to it, right? They're kind of these overriding ideas that are going to help you and your doctor have a real conversation and change this forever. The first statement is, you're talking about your action. And you're going to be very respectful in saying to your doctor that I'm taking responsibility for my health and I'm going to be removing all processed garbage, first and foremost. So, processed junk food, all that stupidity. But I'm also going to be removing the grains and the sugars. And I want you to pay very close attention to what's happening here, Wellness Warrior, because you are not asking for permission. You're very respectfully stating what you are doing in your life. You're talking to your doctor, this professional who's walking with you to help you heal, hopefully, or keep you healthy if you don't have anything to heal, depending on what side of the coin you might be on at this moment. You're walking, you want to walk with them in this journey. So you're stating your actions. The second thing you're going to do is acknowledge their expertise, right? That's the next statement. I understand that this change can have powerful and rapid effects on my blood pressure, on my blood sugar, on any medications that I might be taking. You're basically showing your doctor that you're being responsible and you are aware of the risks. And of course, that's part of the reason that we need them, right? Now, I want to make sure that I'm clear about this because you're saying you understand that this is an outcome that's possible. They might clearly and quickly jump to the conclusion that the changes you make are going to worsen what's happening with your health, right? I'm going to talk more to that point, but don't let it knock you. Don't let it get you off course because remember, we walk into this story knowing that they might not have any knowledge of keto or carnivore. We walk into this story knowing that they think taking away a food group is dangerous, even though we're not taking away a food group if we're doing keto. The food group is just there, is still there. We're just eating less of it. But they are confused by your desire to eat more meat or to prioritize meat in either, depending on what diet you're doing. Now, the third um, collaboration statement that you're going sorry, this the third change. So the statement you're going to make is a request for collaboration, right? Something like, my primary goal is to do this safely, and I need your partnership to monitor my markers so that we can adjust my medication as my health improves if you're taking medication, or we can, see if my health is remaining the same or getting better. For example, does my weight go down? Or do my skin conditions improve if you don't, if even if you're not taking any medication for it? Whatever joint pain would have been the thing I would have been tracking in my case. Whatever is the thing that's frustrating you, that's bothering you, that you complain to the doctor about, we're going to monitor these things and see do they improve. This is actually the key. You've just given them a new thing to focus on, right? Like they're rather than waiting and focusing on markers to go up because we all expect them to go up. They now have this new job of saying, well, are they staying the same? Are they going down? Or is this person's health improving? This job is no longer to manage your protocols, right? That's what they were doing. It's to monitor your success because that's what you are expecting of yourself. Now, let's go back to this case that if they object, what do you say? What do you do? Right? They might say something like, that's dangerous, a fad diet. They might try to convince you that you're going to ruin your health. Do not argue with them about whether or not what you might be wanting to try is going to damage your health because nobody knows what's going to happen. What we do know right now is the path you are currently on is damaging your health. What we do know right now is the path you are currently on, your weight is rising. In my case, my joints were aching. My skin was horrible. Um, I didn't know it at the time, but my brain fog was increasing. I was tired. And so I didn't even know all the things that were going on that could have changed. But at that particular moment, what we do know for sure is your health is not where you want it to be, and you believe eating differently could help you. So don't get defensive. This isn't about what they believe or what they like want for themselves. This is about what you want for yourself. And the most important thing that you can do to help this conversation go well is use the data pivot. And what that is you just tell them quickly and honestly that you understand their concerns because there is a lot of conflicting information about keto and carnivore, right? We can agree that the conflicts exist. But we can also agree to let the data lead the conversation. If you do keto or carnivore, and so for example, we would need to start first and foremost by checking your blood work and gathering it data. What do I weigh right now? Take some pictures. This is what my skin looks like, or like I could log like, okay, right now my body pain feels like a X, like what is it, an 8 on 10? And maybe when I first came to see you, it was a 10 on 10. Now it's improved slightly with the medication and it's 8 on 10. But what will happen next? And by the way, Wellness Warrior, if you, so in my case, saw the doctor, took some medication, and it went from being a 10 on 10, oh my gosh, I can barely do anything, to being an 8 on 10, I'm still barely able to do anything, but it's manageable, right? There's two parts to that story to remember. Even without medication, I would have gotten used to it somewhat because you just get used to whatever you feel. But the medication got me to an 8. If 2 months from now I come back and all of a sudden I'm at a 3, yeah, that's not the medication. If I was taking the medication for more than 2 or 3 months, that's the change I made. So we need to walk into the story with the doctor with a baseline. Because if we don't have a baseline, they will definitely try to convince us that the medication finally kicked in. Your medication theoretically should kick in somewhere between 4 to 6 weeks. So if you're already at the month 2 mark, yeah, what they will normally do is raise your medication. And honestly, that would be the point at which, no, well, whenever you decide to do it, isn't the point. They're going to raise your medication, and they're going to keep raising it, trying to get some kind of a result for you. So we ask them, let's run some blood work now. Let's take some measurements. Gather the data that we're going to, again, come back and verify in 60 days. And if my markers are going in the wrong direction, I'm willing to reconsider. What you've just done, Wellness Warrior, is you've taken control while still showing respect, and you've created a new standard for the relationship. I'm not upset with you about where my health is. I'm not asking you to give me a solution so that I can hold you accountable. I'm taking a bit of responsibility here too and saying, I understand food plays a role. Let me do my part and look at the food. You've become a partner. And I want you to see that this script is not really about your doctor. So that's not the reason that I want you to apply the script. Because it's not just about this one 10-minute conversation or the 10-minute conversations you'll have with the doctor in the future while you go over the data. This is about what happens to you after you walk out of the doctor's office. You just had this really difficult conversation, and you've done something hugely important because this is about your identity. What you've done is in that moment, you decided to be who you are, right? And that is the owner of your health. Their protocols only work because we feel powerless in those medical scenarios, right? Sitting there in a paper gown on a table, they leave you waiting for how long in the room by yourself, twiddling your thumbs, not dressed, the most vulnerable scenario we can ever be in, waiting for the all-knowing decision maker to come and tell us if we've escaped another year of disease or if we've finally fallen and need medication. Our job is to take care of ourselves, Wellness Warrior, right? Like we were taken care of by our parents for years and years and years. Our parents were the ones that would fight for us in these medical appointments. I remember my parents fighting for me in medical appointments, right? And the doctors didn't believe that I was eating the red meat that they had told me I needed to get my iron in the right place because I was low iron. And my parents fought for me. They said, no, she's absolutely doing it. Like you can't say she's not doing it. We watch her. She's doing it. And I mean, eventually the doctor did put me on medication. And again, they fought for me. No, she's taking the medication. Like her. Now, at the end of the day, the medication part, I did at some point stop taking the medication. So I will admit to that. But I stopped taking it because I was sick as hell. on the medication, and only to find out later that that medication wasn't helping me. The protocols depend on us being passive. They depend on us continuing to eat garbage while we wait for that magical medication that's going to swoop in and do what? It's going to fix everything, right? What we end up doing by having this conversation is shut down the protocol by choosing to care for ourselves, right? We shut down that protocol by making the decision to eat real food. So this isn't the medicate. We're not waiting for medication to fix us, is what basically I'm trying to say, right? We are going to heal our body with healthy food, right? And our body wants to do that. Our body wants to feel amazing. It wants to heal. It wants, when you give it the food it's supposed to be getting, it heals. We are adults. We don't need permission to do what's right. You don't need permission. What you need is a partner to read the data that you don't know how to read, right? To help your health. Now, I know some of you might be new in this live stream, so I just want to say a little bit about that medication that I was taking, because I make these videos because I want you guys to get out of the stupid protocol prison stupidity that we're in. I was in that prison, right? The medication that I was taking, so the iron pills that I was taking didn't work. I was waiting for surgery for my hip because my hip was inflamed, and they told me, oh, arthritis. They told me all kinds of things. The medication didn't work because I have thalassemia. There was no medication they were ever going to give me that was going to make me look like I had normal iron levels, because I will never have normal iron levels. Yet I'm still sitting here in front of you, healthy and happy, because my iron levels are where they're supposed to be, given that I have thalassemia. I am not ever going to benefit from a doctor looking at a table of questions, insert answer for Violet, because you need to start your conversation with me knowing I have thalassemia. And if you don't know that, then you are going to make a mistake. Not one of those doctors ever asked me if I, well, what I eat. Let's go to the next part, to the hip surgery thing. Not one of them ever asked me what I was eating. Never. But changing to a keto diet absolutely solved my hip issue. And it took 23 years for me to go from, oh, my joints are bothering me a bit. And I mean, joints, but my worst joint initially was my knee. My joints are bothering me a bit. It took 23 years from that, where I was doing sports therapies and all kinds of stuff to help my knee. And then it was, my back, and then it was my neck, and then it was my elbow, right? Yeah, 23 years till it was my hip and I couldn't walk. How long did it take me to heal with proper food? 3 months. My desire to avoid surgery led me to the keto diet, which got me results in 3 months. Would I say my hip was perfect? Not at all. But I went from can't pick my leg up to step up on a curb, and then when I put the pressure to step up, like tears. I'm not. I wish I was joking when I said tears. I'm not even tears, actual tears. Wellness warrior. I went from that to 3 months later. So I started in April, and in July, being asked by my spouse, "Hey, how's your hip?" And not being, like, I had forgotten why I had started eating this way. I'd forgotten. My hip was fine. Now, I've looked back at some pictures more recently and realized that I see pictures of, I'm taking pictures of myself and the kids at the park where there's a lake. And to get down to the lake, and I'm down there, I would have had to climb down there. And I realized, wow, back in June, my hip had actually been feeling better. So that's now, we're talking April, May, June. We're talking two-ish months. As a matter of fact, maybe one and a half, because April 20th, and it was before June 20th when I took the picture. It was the very first week of June. Can we just pause and see the crazy in that? That doctors were telling me that I was going to be having surgery to heal this, and that I needed to wait for it to be bad enough. So I had to suffer a few more years, very likely. And we all know people who've had hip surgery, how many years they suffer with that, right? We all have people in our lives. And if you don't, I'll tell you, it's years. It's not a fast process before by the time that they say, okay, now you're ready for the surgery. Wellness warrior, all of my inflammation is gone. That we're not just talking about my hip, it's my back, it's everything. My hips, my there, it's all gone. And not only did my inflammation go away somewhere between a month and a half and 3 months, where I could say clearly, like, I feel amazing. And now we fast forward to today. It's rare that I get any kind of difficulty with this the right hip, with this hip, right? If I do something super strenuous, sometimes I can still have a bit of problem, but just my normal, and I ride longboards. That doesn't cause me problems. Just pointing it out in case anybody's wondering. Like, riding my longboard is not something that causes me an issue. And that's me using this hip and joint and all of like this lower body so much. It doesn't cause me a problem. So I got my joints back. I lost the weight. It took 5 months for me to lose 80 pounds. So no surgery, no medication. I'm on nothing. And I'm here, able to share what I've learned with you, because I want you to get your health back too. Because I know that you can. I know that it's possible. But what you need is to be a partner in your own care. Being a partner is pivotal, right? Because as soon as I started to pay attention to what helped me to feel better, when I focus all of my attention on what helped me to, like, I pay attention to what, even in the foods that were healthy, keto foods that I was told to eat, could see that every time that I have tomatoes or eggplant, or right, so these nightshade vegetables impacting me, I had to remove them. So pay attention to yourself. Don't just, it's just as about partnering with the doctor, but it's also in listening to yourself. Now, I know that there might be some of you that are still unsure about the healthy foods, because I mean, as I was doing all of this, I've understood there's certain healthy foods, there's certain healthy foods that aren't healthy, right? Like the tomatoes and the eggplant. And those contribute to like pain, but then that's contributing to inflammation, which will then contribute to obesity in another way, or contribute to your health problems in another way, right? So we get the sugar down, but there's other things in it. So anyways, if you want to understand a bit better how to manage all of that, I really encourage you to watch the video that I did where I reviewed a video from Dr. Lustig. He was being interviewed, and I reviewed some of that information to help you guys understand what he was explaining about food, because there's so much to this. There's layers to this information. So that video with Dr. Lustig's information is linked in the description for you to watch after this live stream is over. So right now I want to go to your questions. I'm going to answer everything that you guys put in there. So um, put your questions in. When I get to the end of them, that's when the live stream is over. So if you have something you want to ask me, put it in the questions right now, because that's going to make sure that I get to it. So let's just go here. I'm gonna back up a little bit. Um, so Bride's Biscuit says, I don't drop the C word around any of my doctors. I don't see the need or benefit. That would only interrupt my time with them to learn all I can. I already solved the nutrition part. And I feel like the reason I'm bringing this up today isn't because I want to fight with what I want you fighting with your doctor about the keto carnivore validity. That's not the point. But I do think that if, for example, someone who's on diabetic medication, that's a great example of this. If I don't help my doctor to understand that I'm actually removing all processed food, junk food, all sweet things, so basically the things that carbohydrates, so the things that cause my diabetes, the carbohydrates that cause my diabetes, if I don't help my doctor to understand that this is happening, they're not going to ask me to come back sooner, first of all, because at the minimum, Wellness Warrior, the weight I lose should impact the amount of medication I'm taking. By its just that one piece of information should change the level, so the dose of my medication. If you have a doctor that sees that you've completely changed what you're eating and that your weight has completely come down, and they're not saying, oh, we need to adjust your medication, it's too strong now, you need to have a conversation. And I would be concerned, right? Because medication is based on weight as well. So part of it is helping them preview, I should have you come back sooner if you're changing your diet. And that's the reason to talk about diet in these appointments. If I just do my thing, but my next appointment is scheduled for 6 months to a year from now, I could get into a strong problem because weight loss equals my medication is stronger, equals a dangerous scenario for me if my doctor isn't following me closely enough. Hello, Stephanie. Very happy that you're able to join us. My mom's doc gave her the thumbs up when I put her on non-gimmicky keto, but she did warn her that cholesterol could increase. And your mom's doctor was right. Cholesterol could increase, and that's what happens. So I can't remember which doctor explained this, but what the doctor explained was that when we lose weight, and it might have been Dr. Berg actually, that when we lose weight, of course, our body is breaking down the fats that we've been carrying for years. And like I said, in my case, in the period of 5 months, it broke down 80 pounds worth of fat. Well, every fat molecule has cholesterol in it, right? Or not molecule, but every fat cell has cholesterol in it. So clearly, when I broke down all that fat, my cholesterol numbers went up. But as you move forward over time and everything stabilizes, your body regulates, and then it's not a big deal anymore. And when I say not a big deal, what I mean is that your everything becomes regulated, right? So we don't necessarily need to focus so much on, like, our doctor knows what to look for. And I feel like your mom's doctor saying that shows that at the minimum, that doctor has some idea of what will happen when we change our food. And to me, that's very positive because a lot of doctors don't even point that out. Bride Biscuit says, my sister's doctor was concerned about her LDL, but glazed over her HDL being 90, A1C being 4.9, trigs being 80, and all other labs normal. So I'm not a doctor, so I'm not going to pretend to know if those are in the normal range or not. I feel like they're not bad, but I'm not a doctor, so I'm not even going to pretend. What I think you're trying to say, though, is that those are in the normal range, and so therefore there is nothing to worry about, or at least your sister was on the right direction. But I do feel that if we don't even walk through the door with a basic understanding, and whenever I go to see my doctor, I always look at the numbers first to see, like, what am I trying to look for? And I know Dr. Ekberg has a great video where he talks about what numbers are normal and good. Dr. Berg does too, what numbers are normal and good versus like what numbers are concerning. And like when you refresh your memory on that, and then you kind of go into these situations, then you're able to make a have a better discussion with your doctor. But again, if your doctor also sees that there's weight loss happening, that your markers of, metabolic problems are going down, then some of these other things, like we've been told by the World Health Organization, I think it was, or there, like one of the big organizations came up and said that we don't need to worry about cholesterol numbers. Number one, our body makes cholesterol. So even if we try to keep it as low as possible, our body makes it. It's just going to make it regardless. Number two, it's normal that our body would have some damage happen while it's processing things. And so therefore, a small amount of damage isn't something to be concerned about. But the other thing that is very much talked about these days is that the glycation that's happening, they blame mostly on fructose, first of all. So high fructose corn syrup is getting blamed for that. If we, as individuals who care about our health, care about the health of our children and the health of our grandchildren, understand that fructose in the high fructose corn syrup, fructose comes from plants, and that the higher the fructose content, the sweeter the plant tastes. That's why fruits taste so sweet compared to vegetables that taste much less sweet. But then you have things like tomatoes and some peppers that taste super sweet. All of that means that these things have more fructose in them. So when we really pause and understand what that means, then we have a much better understanding of what we're trying to achieve. And it really, at the same time, not so simple because we want to do what's best for ourselves. So we need to let ourselves work with the doctor and then bring the data that we have to the forefront when we're thinking about what we're eating, how we're making decisions. Your doctor is not there with you. You know, one of the things that stuck with me when I was doing this process and talking to my doctor about what I was doing, I remembered my uncle. And, he was a smoker. And the doctor said, oh, do you need to quit smoking? You need to quit smoking. You need to quit smoking. Every doctor's appointment, you need to quit smoking. You need to quit smoking. And my uncle, who's no longer with us, never quit smoking. He smoked till the last day. So your doctor can say whatever your doctor is going to say. We decide what we're going to do. No doctor screams and insults people who are smoking because why? Because they understand that they don't have control of that, right? It's a physical need that compels them to do it. We need to understand that our overeating of carbohydrates is physical and it's compulsive. And if we don't step in and break it, you have to break that compulsion. If we don't do that, it'll just keep happening and keep happening and keep happening. So the goal right now for all of us is to recognize that compulsion and break it. And I'm giving you a conversation to have with your doctor so that they can understand what you're trying to do. And if you are honest and say, you know what, I'm so out of control when it comes to chocolate, was my story. I was so out of control when it came to chocolate that trying to be moderate was not something that was ever going to work for me because I was compelled. As soon as I accepted that, it all changed because I wasn't trying to moderate. I just removed it. You don't help my life. You don't add to my life. You're gone. Same with nightshades. And you have Hashimoto's. Thanks for sharing that. So yeah, it's very important for us to take care of ourselves in this manner. Stephanie says, I do miss my eggplant, but not that much. I don't, you know what? So here's another thing that's really interesting that for me, I've noticed is central to what I'm doing. I don't miss much. I feel like there's this trade that I've made in my brain, and maybe it's because I have violet syndrome. The food was punching me. It was throwing me around the wrestling ring. The food was winning the fight. So the pain in my hip and all my joints, the skin issues that were just like frustrating to me. Like my hands were so dry and cracked and like they were not doing well. The problems that I was living, like some of the rashes I had would be open and I would have to put like medicated creams, all the things that I had to do just to be comfortable. And I wasn't comfortable. I'm just trying to be comfortable. When I started eating healthy, my violet syndrome just made it obvious to me. Look at what eating real food has taken away from your life. Right? All this pain and suffering and problems that you were living all the time, all the time, for the inconvenience that when you go out to eat, maybe you can't order anything at this restaurant, and while everybody else is eating whatever junk they ordered, I'm having a coffee. Yeah, that doesn't bother me because I know if I eat that junk that everybody else is eating, I could wake up in the middle of the night crying. I would rather not. I'd rather not. So I do feel like I don't miss the stuff anymore, Stephanie. And I hope that one day you get to the point where you don't miss it either. Because I think walking across that threshold from oh, the junk food, or I'm not like everybody. Walking across that threshold to the, of course, I'm not like everybody else. I'm Violet, right? I make these videos because I figured that out. I'm not like everybody else. The damage that was happening in my body showed me that this stuff is not food for this body. And everybody's going to have their different level of what is healthy for you versus what is not healthy for you. So I don't know, Stephanie, like what your line is going to be. I can't remember if you're carnivore or not. But even for people who are keto, what's your line? There are lots of people that are keto that eat tomatoes and eggplants and can even have a little bit of potato and they are absolutely fine. And my answer to them is, all right, that's where you landed and that's fine. Your body didn't have the level of damage that mine had. And it's hard, wellness warrior, because I'm going to, just before I say that that's fine, I want to point something else out. I am so grateful to my body that my problem was not weight. I'm grateful that my problem caused physical pain because if my biggest issue was weight, all the other damage that was potentially happening from the sugar and from the toxins in the stuff that, so in the plant foods, the plant vegetation, the vegetation that we eat, that stuff, all the other toxins might still have been, I might have still been letting them in because my only concern was weight. The fact that they were hurting my joints helped me to see something that a lot of people don't realize. Those internal organs don't feel pain like our skin does, like our, right? Like things that are close to the surface do. Because of that, it's not until they're falling apart that we notice it, right? That's dangerous because by the time we notice it, maybe we are not in a position to fix it easily. Dangerous, super dangerous. So I don't miss it. I don't think I will ever miss it. I feel too good to miss it. Hey, Mandel, happy to have you here. My grandma told me about certain plants that made her hurt. Okay. I'm trying to remember a lot from a long time ago from people who had been through the age I am now. Okay. I mean, obviously, that does give us interesting data and something to work with. I saw Dr. Westman talk about his patients having a radical drop in blood sugar even overnight by going low carb and not adjusting their insulin. Yeah, it's super scary. This is why I'm saying talk to your doctor. Talk to your doctor. We need to work with the professionals. Um, whoever you have access to, whether it's the nurse practitioner, whoever it is, talk to that person, get information, share information, make sure that you're taking good care of yourself. That's the most important thing. Keto has definitely helped my mom heal from her back surgery. Oh, very nice, very nice. I'm glad that your family members are getting on board and there's more people. My dad is on board as well. And I mean his weight, he's like he looks so fit now. It's like, yeah. He always worked out, but you know that little layer of cushioning that we all get as we get older because we're eating the standard diet, like that's gone now. So his workouts are really showing. Um, I also increased her consumption of red meat, which helped. Yes, I'm so jealous of everybody who can eat red meat. My thalassemia does not allow me to do that. I do eat, the white meats and fish, but yeah, I would be happier person. And I don't know, in some places I hear them categorize pork as red meat. Here in Canada, we categorize it as white meat. So I'm not really sure but I do eat pork and I've always tolerated pork very well. So I do allow myself copious amounts of that. And it's one of I mean, honestly, I can't even, my meals are all amazing to me, but I do feel like I lean more towards pork than I do towards chicken, which is interesting because when I was doing standard diet, I leaned more towards chicken than pork. So I definitely feel like my body is trying to show me what's healthier for me. And these are things that just over time, more and more you do them, more and more you understand more, right? So it's I love this. I love this. I can't even just express how much I love what I'm learning. Um, Exercise will increase HDL. Oh, nice to know. I mean, I like riding things and I love going climbing and doing a lot of activities, but like I'm still trying to get myself back in the habit of working out in my gym in my house. More recently, I've been jumping on my rebounder again, so I'm trying to get myself back into that. And when I jump on the rebounder, I do a few like little hangs from my I have a hanging board to help myself with my climbing. So I'm trying to hang from that just to keep my fingers strong for climbing. And then I will go and do some pull ups, but my feet are on the floor. So it's not pull ups like I'm not pulling up my whole body weight. I'm kind of doing it on an incline to try to get stronger because I would love to be able at some point to be able to pull up my body weight successfully. I've never been able to do it, even when I was younger. I was never able to do it. So it is a goal of mine to be able to do a real pull up. So these are all things I'm working on in the background. Maybe not as much as I should be. I want to create a schedule for myself. And if I have a schedule, I think that'll go much better. Maybe like every other day to do something in my home gym and keep myself kind of on a good schedule of jumping and that stuff. I don't mind jumping every day. I find that fun. But all of these things that will help my health improve and keep me very focused on what it is that I'm trying to do for my good health. Yes, sorry. Sister was optimal, even heart protective in all other markers. That's great. Um, I do think that another test that we should all be getting that they don't seem to do is a cardiac calcium score thing. Like, apparently, this is so easy to do and would give people some really useful data. But like for example, here in Canada, you can't just go ask for it. They won't do it for you. You need a prescription for it, and to get that, you need to be like have some kind of event happen. It's crazy that they don't want to just give us the ability to check things and know that we are on the right track. I do have a plan in my head of coming to the US and just getting some things done, paid over there, at some point when the channel makes enough and I can just do that and I'll document it for you guys to show you because I think it's ridiculous that we can't just walk into a health care facility here and get that done. Or at least not here in Quebec anyway. High LDL is a trigger to warrant statin scripts and medical recommendations. And a more conspiratorial person would say that's not necessarily for health benefits. I can hear you on that because I mean, statins have been shown years ago not to be beneficial to our health. So the fact that they're still being prescribed is ridiculous. My spouse, when he went in for his, he had a little heart event happen, and the first thing they tried to do was put him on a statin. Luckily, with all the data we had collected by that point, he was able to say no. That was 2 years ago. He's totally fine. No negative repercussions from not taking the statin. So, like, it's we need to understand that they will do what they do what they do because they're in that protocol system. Although they did argue hard with him that, oh, he's risking his life, etc. But I think it's because the doctors really do believe this stuff. It's frustrating. It's scary that they believe this stuff, but they do, right? So I'm not blaming them because that's the way that they've been educated to this point. But I think it's important for us all to keep our data up to date. Yes, once the carb compulsion is broken, it's so easy to pass up the sweets. Oh my goodness, yes. And I mean, the truth is, in my story, so I told you the 3 month and 5 months situation. What I didn't tell you was that it only took 2 weeks of not eating not only junk food, but because I took my carb count down to, I would say it by when I first started, I probably was around 70 to 50, somewhere in that 50 to 70 range. But by taking my carb count down to from 350, 450, all the way down to 70-ish, my compulsion to eat carbohydrates went away. Just went away. It wasn't there anymore. And then because that happened, the other beautiful benefit, I was so impressed, happy, excited by this, is that I was actually able to eat like regular healthy foods. And if I saw junk, I wasn't bothered. Like I sit here, and for some of my videos, I have props in front of me, and I sit here in front of this and this, two things that wouldn't have lasted 5 minutes in front of me, and they're there all the time. It doesn't bother me. Another junky thing that I used to like to eat is these, they don't bother me, not even at all. Like I don't care. It's been sitting there. These are props. I can my daughter doesn't eat keto or carnivore. Sometimes she'll bring chocolate into the house, which, she'll eat a bit of it. We end up throwing it away because she's not a chocolate person, but she'll bring chocolate into the house if someone gifts it to her or whatever, or for some reason she was in the mood for a piece of chocolate. But then oftentimes whatever is left uneaten gets tossed. She'll buy chips or whatever, eat a few, and then the rest of it gets tossed. Even sometimes she'll ask me to buy something for her. I'll bring it in, she'll eat a little bit, and it gets tossed. So what I love about that is that I don't get tempted, right? And she gets to do what she's doing at her own pace. And when she's ready to be full-fledged into eating healthy and put down the silliness, she will. She has the data, right? I'm not worried about that. I'm actually more concerned of people knowing the information, right? And if we don't even know the information, then our kids, so Pat, two boys, and my daughter, wouldn't be doing as good as they're doing. They at least know that overdoing the junk food is a bad idea. And they have all dramatically decreased the amount of junk food that they're eating. We are supremely proud of them. I can't even say enough how proud we are. All right, team, I have to go. Oh, I'm sorry. I hope to see you another time, Stephanie. I'll catch the rest on the upload. Okay, that's perfect. Have a nice rest of your day. Bride Biscuit says, I quieted the food noise, but as a carb addict, it really never fully went away. 1 year strict carnivore so far. I avoid all carbs, starch cravings down. I will forever crave chocolate. I'll tell you again, if it's embarrassing. Embarrassing. Like it's actually embarrassing. The copious amounts of carbohydrates that I used to eat. When I tell you that it's embarrassing, is I can't stress that enough. Embarrassing. It does go away. I know it sounds like what I'm saying is impossible. It does go away. But it can only go away when you stop fighting yourself and start making different decisions, right? So, and this is a hard one for most people, but we're so used to white knuckling it, right? That even though I might not touch chocolate, if in my carnivore way of eating, there's still enough carbohydrates coming in, then I will want the chocolate. And that's something that it took me a little while to figure out too. Like, I mean, although I wasn't like stressing about the chocolate that was in front of me in the mall, for example, when you walk through past Laura Secord, so you could sometimes I could smell the chocolate that they were playing with in there. And there was another store that we had in the mall. I can't remember the name of it right now, where they would make elaborate chocolate concoctions. And so the base of everything was chocolate, and they would make different shapes. They would make holiday shapes. They would cover, fruit with it. They would do all kinds of things, cover it with candy. They would do all kind of fun things. And those two stores, whenever I walked by them, I would still have that like little bit of like, oof, chocolate, like I miss it. Until I really got my carb count. So it turned out, I told you I started at like 70-ish, and then I got myself down to 20. But it actually turned out that the number I truly needed to be under to be like, I'm good, was 18. So once I realized that my carb number was a little bit lower than the 20 that doctors talk about, I took myself down to 10. At 10, I no longer had any cravings for any candy, chocolate, junk food. That part was completely gone. Completely gone. So figuring out that kind of stuff is probably what you need to do, because even though you're not having any vegetation since you're carnivore, but are you, so I say not any having any vegetation, Bride Biscuit, are you actually not doing any spices as well? Because for some people, especially if you like the amount of damage that my body had, When I went from carnivore, so when I went from keto to carnivore, because I wanted to make sure that I really did what was best for me, I took the carbohydrates completely out, which included the spices. And I can tell you that I it's even better. And I don't it's hard to say because I wasn't chasing junk food, but every once in a while, I would want um some fruit. Not fruit, sorry. I never wanted fruit because I don't like fruit, but some veg like what I mean, like tomato never because I was hurting my joints, but things like broccoli, things like cauliflower, things like cabbage. What was another go-to? Sometimes Pat would make asparagus and I would want that, which is weird because I didn't like asparagus before I did keto, right? Like it was never a vegetable that was interesting to me. I always liked broccoli, I always liked cabbage, and I always liked nope, I didn't like cauliflower either actually. Broccoli and cabbage were and carrots and potatoes were my go-to veg. I didn't even like peas or corn that much. Like I would eat corn in the summer because everybody was eating it, but it wasn't like my favorite thing. Because I didn't really like vegetables to begin with. So, and I hated fruit, right? And if I was going to eat a fruit, it was always the sweetest possible fruit. So you're talking banana, kiwi, and strawberries with sugar, like dipping my strawberries in sugar. Those were the things that I ate. Was there another? I feel like there was one. Oh, pineapple and pineapple. Those were the things that I ate if I was going to eat fruit. So you could see like the pull that was happening. It was all sweet and high carb things. I don't know why I like broccoli and cabbage to be honest with you. Maybe it's just because I had it so much growing up. Like that was a go-to vegetable that my mom made, so maybe that's why I liked it. But everything else was high in carbohydrate. Everything else. So I think that sometimes we just aren't aware that we're keeping our carb count that high. We just don't know. And if you don't know, you're gonna get pulled in, right? Um, cheers, Stephanie. Yeah. I want to actually point out right now, I didn't say it earlier when the main part of the live stream was going on, but I am going to be live in our community this evening at 7 Eastern. So if you guys want to come join me over there and go more maybe in depth into your personal story, where you can give me more details and we can talk about the mindset that will help you to stay on track better. We can talk about that, especially for people that are saying, "Oh, I have this or that issue that's like kind of keeping me off track." Still do running the special to join the community, so it's an opportunity to take advantage of it because I forgot to change it. So yeah, you can still join that. Um, so hey, if you want to join, I'll see you later on tonight. So yeah, I'm primary carnivore. I do eat low oxalate veggies, and a few times, usually when I am with my mom, but thankfully it doesn't affect me. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if most of what you're doing is carnivore, then yeah, every once in a while we just want to verify with ourselves if some of the things we're eating is making us chase or whatever. But if you're saying that everything's looking fine, then that's perfect. Okay, you're off. Okay. Hey Mandel, what are you? I see doctors prescribe a diet for medicine that treats diet. Okay. Ozempic for anyone with insurance. Yep. Unfortunately, system pushes them for money. Old people muscle loss is heartbreaking. Mm, yeah. I remember my grandmother, like after she stopped working, she just got so weak. It's crazy. Like she worked with the elderly, so she was often helping them move around and whatever. And then weirdly enough, as soon as she retired, there was a decline in her ability to move herself around. And I remember having a conversation with her about like joining the Y, because when in or at least here in Quebec, when you're retirement age, the cost to join the Y is negligible, right? Like I can't wait till I'm retirement age and I can join the Y because it's negligible. And but unfortunately by that point, well, first of all, she was never a person to work out, so but I don't know if she saw the value in the social part of going and joining the Y. So, but I think when I will retire, like that's part of the fun, right? Like working out with other people and just meeting the people that are there, right? And getting your membership at a reasonable price. I can't afford nearly all red meat. Here to say I healed from 7 diseases, predominantly eating chicken, turkey, pork, and some tinned fish and eggs. Chicken, turkey, pork. I mean, honestly, my diet is chicken, pork, eggs. I don't do tinned fish anymore because I found out that the heat sealing with the plastic on the inside of the tin kind of leaches into the meat of the fish or meat, whatever it is that's been heat sealed. So I don't do that anymore. But I did find, like, for example, if you like salmon, I did find that you could buy it in the frozen section at a really reasonable price. And that's what I've been doing. And I just have one piece of salmon. Sorry, I said salmon. I meant sardines. I was talking about tin fish. Yeah, I meant sardines. You can find it in the freezer section. I've been doing like one. My plan is to do one piece a week because I wasn't eating any tinned fish in the recent years. So I figured, oh, one piece a week is okay. And if I end up liking it more, I'll maybe bump it up to two pieces a week. But you're getting like a whole sardine, right? So one of those, it's not quite a tin, I don't think. I think a tin would have had more than that in it. So maybe like half a tin, but I'm okay with that. More than okay with that. Yes, I know I will get less and less. I want a compulsion. I was a carb compulsive for over 6 decades. Over 6 decades. Okay, so you're six. That's 60, more than 60 years. Okay, so maybe you're a little bit older than me. I know that it will take time to undo. I still have at least 1 to 2 more years of healing ahead. Well, okay, for clarity and for everybody that's in here and why I want us to be really on it when we're doing what's best for us, it takes more than 2 years. It takes 20 years to completely rebuild a body, right? So like the turnover of all the cells. And the way to think about it is like it's like renovating your house one room at a time. And like each room takes, let's say, 2 to 3 years. Like that would take you 20 years. And then you wouldn't just stop, you'd just have to start over now because that first room you did would be 20 years old. Like that's how this functions. And so therefore we need to look at this as a long-term turnover process that's just constantly improving us. But the good news is that our body is smart enough that it starts with the most important components. That's why our skin doesn't just look amazing or our weight doesn't just fall off because your body doesn't care what your skin looks like as long as it's holding in what it needs to hold in and filtering you properly, right? It doesn't care how much you weigh as long as you're not weighing so much that you get caught by the lion, for example. So it needs to get you down to a good enough weight where you could run away from danger, but you don't have to be at perfection weight. So these things matter to our body. It's going to do internal damage first, but that's the most important damage for it to correct. And we get caught up on looks and aesthetics. Your body doesn't care about aesthetics, it cares about health. So understanding that this is a 20-year process is also what helps me when I go out to eat, for example, not to care what other people are putting on their plate. That's not my problem. And that doesn't help me in any way to follow you and mimic what you're eating and harm myself. That's a hole that I just put in my foundation that's going to now take possibly, no, for sure, it's going to take 20 years for me to undo. Right. And that doesn't make any sense. So that's the way I want us to look at it because that's the thing that's going to help us the most. Can't do spices due to Hashimoto's, which would include black pepper. Okay. I still haven't quit coffee. I'm still in the process of trying to quit it myself, Bry Biscuit. So I'm right there with you. That's yeah, I for sure for me it's the final boss. I've gotten myself down to one coffee per day. I haven't had it yet, my coffee. So I'm down to one coffee per day. I'll have it after the live stream. I try not to have my coffee before the live stream. As you can see, I'm hyper enough without coffee, so I don't want to be too hyper. Although I don't feel like I get hyper as much anymore as I used to. So, but it's one of those things where I just try myself to like, I'm trying to cut down slowly. I used to have two coffees per day. Now I'm down to one. And my goal um in about a month is going to be to cut down to like a half coffee. I want to slowly taper it out because my main goal is not to have headaches. And I did do at one point a challenge where I didn't have coffee for like a month just 'cause I wanted to see what would happen. And yeah, I had a headache. That didn't go well. So I don't want to have a headache because I have to go to work and all the things, right? But I definitely get that. Hello, Sing It. How are you doing? Very happy that you made it. What is, sorry, was it immediate that you didn't miss the stuff? Or did you have moments when bad habits, deeply entrenched cravings came, you ate, you paid, and then you were done? So the cravings, they were gone, but mistakes did happen. So like I said, like I've never made a mistake and had something like this. Or like I've never made a mistake and had like something that I thought I shouldn't have. I had a piece of fruit on vacation, which is that same vacation I told you about where my spouse asked me, "Hey, how's your hip?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're right." And on that vacation was the first time that my spouse offered me a some he made breakfast for everybody and he put a little bit of fruit on my plate. And it was strawberry. I didn't add sugar to it, obviously. But when I looked at the calculation, I'm like, oh, I could have a sliver of strawberry and still be under my 20 because everything else on my plate was super low. So I had a sliver of strawberry and the that happened in my mouth. It was so sweet. I felt like my mouth was being attacked. And that helped me to understand that my taste buds had changed in the mere 3 months that I had been eating this way. My taste buds had absolutely changed. So another reason that I never even was tempted to try this again because I was thought, well, if strawberry, which was one of the few fruits I kind of liked, tasted that offensive to me, how will chocolate taste? So didn't touch it. But then the mistakes came when I would do things like the way that I learned that 20 grams wasn't my number, having a meal where I had enough vegetation on my plate. Everything was within the keto realm, but by the time I finished it, I was feeling chasey, right? But I wasn't chasey for this. I was chasey for like I wanted more side dish, which again, being a person who came to keto like never liking vegetables, like I ate them because I had to, not because I wanted them, like wanting more vegetation. Eventually I figured out that I was over my number. Also, my joints hurt. Those were the two things. But I was wanting more. I was wanting more. It's like and my joints were hurting. I mean, obviously the joints hurting was the biggest ding dong that like, oh. And then I went backwards, went and said, oh wow. And I also was adding more veg to my plate. Like I was craving veg, right? But what am I actually craving? I'm craving the sugar. So I did pay the price though because my joints did hurt. Um, I didn't feel any other negative. I didn't eat enough of it to gain weight, for example, but for sure there was a repercussion there. It's Monday. We'll start my rebounder starting tonight. I draw a pic of stick person me on a trampoline on the fridge calendar every day I do. Oh, that's a cool idea of just like having a calendar where I can just go, did it. Oh, okay. I like that idea. Thank you, Sing It. I'm gonna try to figure myself out that too. Like maybe on the door beside where the rebounder is so that I see it and I can like put my little on it. I like that idea. I'm going to get on that as soon as this call is over. That is guaranteed. Um, Hello, Wellness Word. Hi, Pat. How you doing? Glad I could make it to the end of the stream. Yes, I did notice your hello wasn't there earlier, but I'm glad you at least popped in for a moment. Um, Bride Biscuit understood. Cadmium, sorry, in me takes 20 to 30 years to remove, for example. Also, I did keto 3 years previous. I was speaking of my diseases getting there. Mm, getting there. Okay, cool. So, okay, so it took you've already started 3 years before doing carnivore. That's cool. Okay, so how many years have you been doing carnivore actually? I don't know, but I'm really proud of myself because I'm going to be hitting my 8 year mark in April, which is wild to me. I'm excited for 10 years, be halfway through to my new body. But like I said in the previous Bumble wild caught salmon in water pouch 166. I eat 2 cans sardines a month. Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Um, I think it's interesting for us to know that like where we are in the process. I find it exciting to think about my body actually regenerating and being a fresh copy, which I'd never even thought about before I started doing keto and carnivore and trying to figure out how long it would take me to heal. But it is really satisfying to know that the version of me sitting here today is a different version than what was sitting here that would have been sitting here 20 years ago. That's wild, right? And 20 years ago, like my daughter would have been just born, or well, now we're going into the next year, but like, yeah, she would have been uh, 9 months old. Like, how wild is that? So, like, these little thoughts that come to me, and it's just like, I have a different body than when she was born. That's pretty cool. Taking the layoff to kick coffee. Oh, good for you, Mandel. Make that, make that, challenge in life into a positive thing. That's a good way to use your time. And I have one last one from Mandel. If you anybody else has a question, this is the time to put it in. I'm answering the last question. Um, it's metamorphosis, like the flying insect. That starts off as a larvae in water. It's weird not being able to tolerate a Krispy Kreme donut. Like I expect to pay the price, but it's unpalatable now. Well, but be happy. You know what I the what I the thing I want to say about that is how cool is it that my body makes it unpalatable to me? That once I start eating the right stuff and letting my body start to love the right stuff, the garbage tastes like garbage. It tastes horrible. And I think that that's what's supposed to happen. Don't get me wrong. When I smell, so that Laura Secord that's still in the mall, when I walk by it, the smell still smells good to me, but now, rather than it smelling like something to eat, it just smells perfuming. It just smells, like it smells fun to my nose, not tasty, right? I don't want any. And I think that's an interesting positive because I still on some level I'm not repulsed by people around me who are having it, right? Can you imagine if it repulsed me? Then if my family wanted to have ice cream, I would have to not be in the room, and that would be bad. So my body is able to reframe that smell to me in a way that smells fine, it smells good, right? It smells entertaining. It doesn't smell tasty, and that's hugely important. Something can smell good and not smell tasty. And if anything that you guys are going to do, it's like focusing your attention on that difference between, yeah, it smells good, and letting yourself sit in a moment and see, but do I actually want to eat it? Or is that like, if I put aside that compulsion part, do I actually want to eat it? Like, is my mind saying, yeah, that's going to make some kind of positive in my life? And I think if you let that part of your brain talk to you, you're going to see that it doesn't. By the way, last week was awesome. Lots of meat and fat. Just getting it in to recalibrate my body and my mind. I love it. Sing it. I'm so happy to hear that you're back on track. What a great way to end the the podcast. This is amazing. I love it that this is how we're ending. Thank you for joining me, Wellness Warriors. It's always great to have you here. I love like throwing out these ideas and talking through some of the questions you guys have afterwards. Helps to keep me on track. I hope it's helping to keep you on track. Go down and click that video with from me reviewing Dr. Lustig's information. If you want to join me later in the event, you can go down. The links are down there too. I will talk to you guys next week. Bye, Bride Biscuit. See everybody next week, Monday, 11:20. Oh, sorry, one last one from Mandel. I gotta do it. Any opinion on industrial products, big business usurping basic biology process from hyperpalatable food to celebrities with cosmetic surgery and peds? The goal of any business is to make money. The goal of any individual is to buy things that make sense for us. It's okay for them to want to make money. The question isn't that. The question is, do I actually need the things that they're selling? Or am I buying them because I'm trying to shortcut my body? Understand that there's no shortcut. Your body is going to do what's healthiest. As I said earlier, you want to lose weight and your body is focused on internal organ health, right? You can't shortcut your body because your body knows better. And even anything that you're going to be advised to do, if it undercuts what your body thinks is the most healthiest, your body's still going to fight for you, right? We eat vegetables and fruits because we are told they're healthy. And what does our body do with all that incoming sugar to protect us, to save us? It puts it in sugar, in fat storage. All that sugar in fat storage. So your body will always do what's best for you. Don't worry about the celebrities that are, peddling, you know, products, or the companies that are peddling products like the pharma or whatever. Don't worry about that. It doesn't matter. All you need to focus on is doing what's healthy for you. Buy what makes sense. When we buy what makes sense, all of a sudden we see how these things are not healthy for us. Thanks, guys. Talk to you next week. If you want to join me, the links are below. Have a good rest of your day. I appreciate you showing up every week. It makes me so happy.